All right, folks, and we're back. We're trying to keep tightly on schedule. It's 43 minutes before the hour, and my next conversation is with my friend and occasional co-conspirator, Adrian Sannier. Adrian, I'm going to ask you to look actually at the camera, not at me.
Very good.
Excuse me. This is a slightly different platform. Adrian has had a number of roles at Arizona State University. His current title is he's the Chief Academic Technology Officer of ASU Online, which is different than the technology officer for the home campus, sort of the main campus. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to talk about a couple of things today, Adrian. I had a really engaging conversation yesterday with Michael Crow that'll sort of filter into our conversation, talking about some of the online initiatives at ASU and the Starbucks partnership. Mm-hmm. Let's begin with math. You and I have had a number of conversations over the last couple of years about math education and just sort of taking it apart and starting all over. Mm-hmm. Math is that key gateway course for so many students. They do well, they can fly. They don't do well, they walk away, and they walk away with significant consequences, not just in terms of self-esteem and pathways and opportunities. You're doing some interesting stuff with math. So I'm going to give you the shameless self-promotional opportunity to start with a conversation about math.
Well, great. So Casey, ASU started reinventing its math program about 4 years ago, and started on campus and in a large way, as you know, is Michael's sort of way, right? So all 60 instructors who taught 8,000 students took
you're talking about calculus, you're talking about introductory algebra, freshman math,
right? So we think of that as developmental math, which is the course where if you can't place into college algebra, right, then that's the course you place into, or college algebra, or a course we call college math, which is a kind of alternative quantitative methods course that is a math credential that's sufficient for some majors. And so those three courses, we, as you said, particularly for underprepared students, these are the courses where students go to die. That their dream, they have to get a math credential.
Effectively, they're metaphorically killed.
No, well,
they're crushed.
That's right.
Actually, maybe it's a better word.
It's a very
they
hard
absolutely
thing.
Get crushed,
and their dream disappears as a result, right? So we wanted to increase the success ratios. We knew that some other folks around the country had good results with using personalized adaptive tutors that would provide a personal path through mathematics that fills in the holes, right? So we know that, Casey, you had the mumps when you were 10. And as a result, you missed 2 weeks of school, and there's a piece of math that you didn't really get. You passed a couple of the exams around it, but it's never been solid for you. And now everything that ever depended on that in your math career is also not solid for you. And so over time, all of us have built up these math deficits, and for some people, they're crippling. So then when you get to college and you have to, in 13 weeks, just master this material, it's a very, very difficult challenge because the course is all moving at the same time. So instead, by taking a personalized approach, now if you could hire your own personal math tutor, you could have done that approach, without technology, but the cost basis that you would have to do it on would be way too high. Right. So what we tried to do is develop a human and artificially intelligence-based pedagogy where the two marry together. The data that's coming out of the personalized adaptive tutor is telling both the student and the teacher, hey, these are the things you need to study. These are the places where very specifically you are challenged, and then is able to sort of gradually build mastery.
I want to be clear, you're doing touch and tech at the
same
yes,
time. Absolutely.
Okay.
We don't believe in models that don't have people in them.
Okay.
And so because there is always a place where the software fails, where I've shown you the video and I've shown you the textbook and I've walked you through the step-by-step and you've looked at all these things and you still don't understand. And so just showing you that stuff again isn't going to take us anywhere. Sometimes you just have to be able to interact with a human. So we've built over the last 4 years not only a personalized pedagogy, but we've also started to think about how to scale that pedagogy using technology, making sure that we're using online tools to connect people so that we're not relying on people being in person, so that we could develop as scalable models possible. So we're so excited with the math course that we released this last Sunday in edX as part of the Global Freshman Academy.
edX is the MOOC from Harvard, MIT, others, right?
That's right. And so the Global Freshman Academy is a partnership between ASU and edX to provide the first year of college for free with a pathway to credit if you succeed. And so we've offered college algebra with something we're very excited with. McGraw-Hill is our partner in this course, and it has allowed us to distribute ALEX as an integrated part of the course.
ALEX is the adaptive learning platform.
That's right, and as you know, it's a premium product. Yep. It's expensive, and that product is being offered for free through our course at internet scale.
Okay. earlier today, I talked with Richard Miller. He's the founding president of Olin. He had the great opportunity. Olin Foundation said, I'm rendering this down a little bit. Here's $500 million. Design a completely new engineering course. Wow. And Rick talked about the fact that we are misguided in engineering. You're an engineer by training. Yeah. That so much of it is science that has no application to what engineering is in terms of thinking about vision and creativity, but we distance students from that for too long and in too many ways. Math is much the same way. To that extent, I want to bring up a question that we've got from the audience, if we can do that, about a more realistic approach to math and linking it to other things. Can we bring up that question?
Yeah, so
actually, we're going to have the person speak directly to
That's
you.
Exciting.
Give me one moment.
Dude, you run a good show here.
I'm going to do a couple of taps. We're going to see if we can bring up somebody who's actually listening, who's got a video camera. So rather than me doing it through a text window, we're going to try to bring the member of the live audience up. We've got about...
Oh, cool.
Okay, so can we bring in the video? Let's see. If not, I'm going to sort of rephrase this. Okay. Guess we can't bring in the videos. So again, think of math and music aligned in many ways, but not necessarily on the part of the mathematicians and the music folks.
Absolutely. Look, I think these are there is a solid question around why is algebra a requirement? Maybe algebra shouldn't be a requirement. Maybe there are other ways to teach algebra or mathematical concepts or quantitative reasoning in other ways. These are not things I'm opposed to. They're things I'm very much in favor of. However, at the moment, algebra is a requirement.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about it, and we can maybe get that to change. But for the foreseeable future, we also have to have a way for people to establish their mathematical credentials. Now, we could have a debate about whether math is too sterile and whether, but the fact of the matter is, for many students to succeed, they must be able to show that they can do this. Now, I think it's a defensible thing, because if you want to build bridges, you have to understand mathematics. You have to be able to not only understand it in the context of music, or you have to be able to understand it in the abstract. And so that's one of the reasons I think we focused on the requirement, while at the same time being very open to the other ways that math can be taught.
But let's take the algebra model and extend it into what often historically has been the introductory math course in college, which is calculus.
Sure.
I mean, there's an interesting argument to be made that, in fact, maybe it should be statistics for many students who are not thinking about STEM careers. Calculus is fine, but maybe there is more viability and longer impact for a really well-conceived course in statistics in terms of larger issues of career, public policy, public conversation. Not many of us use calculus in the public conversation these days, but many of us are dependent, or ought to be, just a better understanding about statistics.
No, that's true for sure. And so what I want to do is tease apart two things. There's a set of let's call them computational or abstract skills that we want to teach people, and we can bundle them up in a variety of different ways. And so in terms of deciding what those prerequisites ought to be and how we should package general ed and degrees, we're very interested in that at ASU, and we have a number of different methods by which we do it. But we're also very interested in what's it take to develop any one of these computational skills in a scalable internet way, in a personalized way. Because I submit to you that learning algebra, learning calculus, learning statistics, a huge proportion of this is practice. Here is a problem that involves the application of a variety of these different abstract skills.
Practice with applied issues as opposed to the abstract.
That's right.
I mean, you and I with gray hair and our gray beards are old enough to remember the days when introductory stat classes had no data and all theory.
No, that's right, for sure. That's right, for sure.
And today we can take middle school students, plug a lot of real data into an Excel spreadsheet, and they can do stuff that you and I could never have done.
No, that's right,
early in our academic careers, and make not just the effort to find the right answer on an equation, but look at the permutations and the consequences of differences.
That's right. Now, one of the things that's exciting about the method, right, as opposed to, like, let's look at the method by which we're teaching college algebra, the course that we just opened on Sunday. Let's think about the method as opposed to the particular content, right? So we're using a very problem-focused mechanism. So what we do is we pose you a challenge and say, do you know how to solve this? And that challenge has been chosen very carefully to be at the edge of the zone of proximal development. This is something that you might know, you might be able to figure out. And so then, if you can't solve that problem, then we have a series of resources that are right next to, cognitively, the problem itself.
But you're talking about a model of pedagogy that's built on cognitive dissonance. Recognition that Most of us can only deal with upwards of one deviation of deficit.
That's right.
And giving us a 3.0 challenge is just going to be overwhelming.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so what we're trying to do is scaffold those challenges, and then also put all of the resources that you need in order to be able to develop an understanding of how to do something new. You know, you think about what we used to do, Case. We'd go to class, we'd take the best notes we could, and then when we go home to do the homework, oh, I look through the notes, boy, I wish I had.
Notes are useless.
That's right. I wish I had more. I wish I had captured more. Well, now what we have is we have a capture of the lecture, right? And not a lecture capture. We have a video specifically designed, optimized to be able to deliver that. We also have the textbook there. We have Sal Khan's videos there. We have a set of frequently asked questions that are also videos.
It's a richer set of resources.
And with no cognitive load to access them, right? So that you can remain focused. Now, let's suppose you run out. Let's suppose that those resources, you've tried them, you still can't solve this problem. Now we need a human to intervene, right? That's the place where the software now has reached its limit. Now we need a human to intervene. And so that's when you connect to our coaching infrastructure, and we try to not only help you, but then capture that teaching moment, so the next time someone has that same question, we have an asset to deliver so that we can achieve better scale.
I want to talk about the human element in the context of online education.
Okay, great.
One of the things that Michael Crow said yesterday when we talked about the Starbucks initiative, I mentioned that one of the first analytical pieces broadly available, not a research piece for a journal, after the announcements of the Starbucks initiative in terms of baristas who've had some college, an alliance with ASU and Starbucks to help those folks complete degrees by taking courses with ASU online, was that the Atlantic piece that followed about a year later was very clear that the magic is not in the technology, but in fact, it's a tech-enabled high touch as opposed to all tech. That's a strikingly different model of online education, where at least, you know, if you go back to the launch of the models of online through the web during the dot-com era and beyond, so much of it was thought to be driven or would necessarily be driven by the technology. We've learned that's not the case.
That's right.
His proportionality was to say, well, maybe 1/3 of it is the tech, 2/3 of it is the touch. Again, this is part of your empire. You're the, you know, I'm going to go back and officially read your title as the Chief Academic Technology Officer for ASU Online in that context. Talk about that tech-enabled high-touch model.
Okay, so
with ASU, and not just with ASU Online, Starbucks is only one part of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I think fundamental to our approach is that we know that in order to reach students in this new way, we have to be technologically enabled. We also know that there will be places where the technology, no matter how good it is, no matter how, is not flexible enough, does not provide everything that a person needs. So there's this combination of human intelligence and artificial intelligence that we're essentially constructing together. Now, the trick is to scale human attention. That's the trick. And so that has a long tradition in higher ed. We used to scale human attention. It was like this. I would come to your house, or you would come to my house, and I would teach you what I knew. And we'd do it.
I would be a supplicant out in front of your office hours.
Right. We would do it one-to-one now. And then we invented classes, and then we invented lecture halls, right? Lecture classes that enabled a kind of education where the first 2 years could be done at a certain level of scale, and then the second 2 years would be done at the sort of more traditional level of scale, right? And so we're titrating human attention. Now, that doesn't only apply to teaching. That applies to advising. That applies to counseling. That applies to all of the different services that you want to be able to provide. But the like sort of on-ground model typically has the surgeon doing all of the healthcare, right? The surgeon isn't just, the professor isn't just doing the operating. They're also dispensing the drugs, they're admitting you, they're involved in every sort of part of that process. Now, being able to disaggregate those functions and be able to parcel those out at scale, right, allows us to scale that human attention. Let me give you one example. We're doing, and this will involve very little technology, actually. We're doing a project with that we announced here with Bob Reagan and the Big History team. The Big History team wants to reach out to their instructor base, the teachers in high school who are teaching Big History. They want to grow that base, and they want to make those teachers more effective. Writing is a huge piece of that course.
As it should be.
And so the writing, right, as you know, Case, scoring writing is one of the most difficult challenges that a teacher faces. And so the more writing opportunities that you would afford
and also the consistency of scoring between you and me.
That's right. That's right. But I mean, we're less even concerned about the quality than just if we can unload the teacher, we can still have lots of writing assignments, maybe more than we could have had before, but with a mechanism to provide feedback. So what we're doing then is building a team of graders out of our University Academic Success Programs team to be able to see, can we do this grading at scale in the tens of thousands of essays at a time so that we can start to provide feedback to a teacher, right? And we're still providing sort of human grade, human level mechanism, while at the same time freeing that teacher's time up to do the other things that they need to do. So that's how we view this partnership in technology. We've tried to look for a thing that can be done more efficiently, disaggregate that, and then that frees up the
I want to
humans
ask you a
do more
quick
stuff.
question about outcomes.
Sure.
If you go to the campus community, higher ed, do surveys, is online as good, not as good, about the same as on campus? Overwhelmingly, when you survey faculty, they will tell you maybe it's as good, probably not. Depends on the campus and the culture and the context. Ultimately, the metric of that is, are you using common outcome metrics for the same class taught online on campus? Do you have the same level of completion, retention, and completion rates? Very quickly, where is that at ASU? Are you at liberty in terms of the same comparable classes online on campus?
Well, let me talk in general terms. I don't want to sort of report this like I'm reporting on a research study.
I understand
because
that. But that's ultimately the goal.
That's
that the differentiation is no longer differentiated.
So here's what we see.
Yeah.
We see that in general, we have better retention rates and better success rates in our online courses than we do in our on-ground courses. That's very counterintuitive.
That is hugely counterintuitive.
That's very counterintuitive, but one of the things you have to sort of normalize for is, the populations of students are quite different.
Certainly.
And so a lot of students in on-ground courses are first-time, full-time freshmen.
Different motivation, different context.
They're 18 years old. The folks that we have typically in an online course are older. They have more experience. They have more life experience. Maybe they take a little more serious.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and in many cases they have more personal skin in the game. And so the point is, we are seeing better results online. Now, I'll also speak to math, which is a place where I'm more comfortable saying that the online approach that we took just outperformed the on-ground approach. Just did. It outperformed it. Does that mean that we can consistently do that? That we always can get better? That's a thing we think we can do. Because when let's take video as an example.
I need a quick answer, though. I'm sorry.
Please.
Okay.
Right.
No, I did quickly.
I'm just saying. Take video as an example. You use lectures. You use video. Well, video is much more flexible, much faster, much more adaptable, more retainable by the student. They can keep it as an asset that they can refer to in the future. It's superior. And so when we build pedagogies around that, we can make courses that outperform. Now, as we move upper division, I think that gets less and less and less true. And so that's why we think about the Global Freshman Academy as a thing we might think about delivering at internet scale, while ASU Online is very much an integration of high touch with high tech.
Adrian, our conversation could go on much longer, but we've got somebody else waiting to get into the box with me.
Great.
Thanks very much for joining me
Casey,
today.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Adrian Sannier from ASU. We're reaching across two computers to shake hands and retain the friendship. All right, we'll be right back. Our next up is going to be Mark Schneider from AIR.